we have some exclusive and interesting new polling that we wanted to share with all of you about Joe Rogan, the potential presidential moderated debate. Of course, that didn't necessarily come to pass, but let's throw some of our exclusive Hill polling up there on the screen. Very, very interesting, okay? So it shows that 69% of voters would be net likely to watch a Joe Rogan moderated debate. 31% would be unlikely, okay? But you can even dig in a little bit more. 74% of men, 26% would say no, 65% of women, 35% say they would be unlikely. And then we can also have
his somewhat bro-heavy audience.
I was going to say, a little bit consistent if you consider who exactly are the biggest Rogan fanboys out there, include myself in that demographic. And GOP, actually, 80%, Dems, 70, Independents, only 59. I actually wonder about why that is, Krystal. But
I'd be curious about that one, too.
So there we go. There you have it, folks. America wants the Joe Rogan moderated debate. People in the press were cowards and never even asked Joe Biden if he would be willing to do it, which I consider a great journalistic outrage. But we have it here for you at the Hill. People want to see it.
We already knew the answer from Joe Biden anyway. That's why they didn't ask the question. The Republican-Dem split is interesting to me because just ideologically on the issues, Rogan is more left. He's in, not 100%, but I mean, he backed Bernie Sanders in the primary, for example. And so the fact that Republicans actually have a more sort of comfort and favorable view of him is really interesting. It reminds me of something Glenn Greenwald was writing about, which is basically like, it kind of shows the triumph of the culture wars, because while Rogan has this culturally conservative feel, but then on the issue positions is left, it actually gives him more of a comfort with the GOP base than with the Democratic base. But it also just shows you how out to lunch like Twitter liberals and pundits are, because there's such a minority perspective in terms of the way that they view Rogan and like all of their ginned up outrage about things that he's said in the past and judgment of him, a standard that they never apply when it comes to like, the people who like glide us into war and still get primetime shows and are now lauded as heroes,
what do we play on the show today?
But I also think there's a really interesting story here about the massive shift in the landscape of media consumption in general, but news consumption specifically. And Pew has some new research on this front that shows a sizable chunk of the American public is now getting their news from YouTube in particular, if we can throw that data back up on the screen. And a majority, it's a relatively small group, so about a quarter of adults get news from YouTube. It's a relatively small group that says it's the most important way that they get their news. We love all those people, by the way.
Yeah, those are all risers.
But a pretty sizable majority says that it is an important way. It's significant to their news consumption versus relatively small 20-some% that say it's not an important way of getting news. And look, if you look at the demographics, cable news is dying. I mean, it's like a bastion of like 90s and 2000s energy. It's all older people by and large who watch cable news. And, as people continue to age and age out of that key demo, yes, Trump has kind of rescued cable news in this era because like he's just so salacious and he's such a ratings generator and he creates a new outrage and a new scandal and a new storyline every day. But the long-term trends for cable news are, I think, very bad for them and very good for us.
Yeah, no, actually. I think it's great for us, number one. But I think the reason we wanted to highlight that is where the Rogan power comes from. That is where, he basically invented the demographic and the entire space.
Yeah.
That is actually where the rising power, and for so many of you, I know, we're all around the same age. That's what it is. As that continues to grow, you're only going to see that number of people who view it as a way to get news grow, and you're going to see it become a primary method of consumption. Because we don't like cable. People like to watch the show whenever they want to watch the show. It's a morning show, but a lot of people watch it at night. And that's fine. Who cares?
Well, not only that, but cable's so stupid and vapid and predictable. It just is. It's the same conversation over and over and over again, every single hour. Before you even turn it on, what people are going to say, who the villain is, the general arc of the storyline. It's just not interesting. It's within this very narrow bounds of conversation that you're allowed to have. There are only certain viewpoints that are allowed to be at the table. And so it presents this really, it's actually a very destructive force in American politics, which is something we talked about before, that it's essentially, rather than, the old villains of the past, now the new villain, Matt Taibbi's thesis here, is each other, right? So it's all about cheerleading for your team. The flip side of the story is always that side is bad, this side is good, every day, all day long, and I think people are just getting tired of it, frankly.
Certainly right.
Tomorrow on Rising, great friends of the show, Ryan Grimm and Marshall Kosloff, are going to join us to give their take on tonight's debate. You do not want to miss that.
That's right. As always, remember to hit the subscribe button so don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well. And we will see you guys tomorrow with lots of debate hot takes. So there we go.
Can't wait. Have a good one, guys.